Hey guys, it's been a minute since I made a video, so I thought I'd let you guys know what's been going on. Things have been busy. Just got back from San Luis Obispo area where I got to see my beautiful sister graduate with her master's degree from Cal Poly, so props to her, she's amazing. And I got to spend some time with my dad, working on my brother and my sister-in-law's Mustang. I'll put some pictures next after this little clip. It's 65 Mustang, and my dad put a ProFlow 4 on it. We got to put, what did we do? We did the throttle, low car throttle, and the throttle cable, or throttle pedal, throttle cable, transmission kickdown, and then put in some K&N glass fuel filters on the low pressure side of the fuel injection lines. So, yeah, that's what I did. And what am I doing today? Today I am going to be working on the chassis. I finally got to the part where I can start painting. I'm grateful that Merrick came over. I'll post a video before this one that shows the pocket kits that he made. Get my video back here. Here we go. These pocket kits come up from the bottom, drill one hole in. The 55 Bel Air chassis has 2 additional holes that are already there that we use as locators. On my 56 chassis, that's a 1-piece frame, not a 2-piece frame, there aren't any holes. So, and I'm going to do the same thing for mine, but I don't know that I'm going to put the C-notch in it. I'll probably just have the braces. Right now I'm having the tubes bent they're the rear frame bracing portion of this. So this one is the deluxe, I guess you might say. It has a C-notch in it. And you guys see it right there. And it's also going to have the frame brace, but I can't put the frame braces in. I can't weld them in until I get the body back on and see how the Ridetech shocks are going to go in, because they have to have travel. So, anywho, that's done. Everything else with the chassis has been welded in. I put a couple welded yesterday. I welded a couple little support pieces of metal in just for the rear section, just to make sure everything's stout. And now it's time to do some painting. I'm going to paint with Chassis Saver, this stuff right here. I'll put a link to it on Amazon if you guys want to grab some of this. It's not super expensive, and it does a really good job. I'm going to show off the video here in a second, and I'll show you something. I did the A-arms for Grandpa D right there, my C10. A couple years back, I saw it on Rusty Wrenches. If you haven't checked out Rusty Wrenches' YouTube channel, please do so. He's a stud. The stuff that he does, very detailed. His channel is going to be like my Bible for putting the changing over from the leaf spring suspension I have on Grandpa D right now over to the coil arm suspension that I have for him. Or, I'm sorry, not coil arm, the trailing arm suspension that I have for him. I've just been waiting to get all my ducks in a row. So, I'm going to switch the video camera over, and I'll show you guys what's going on. Okay, so these are the little extra pieces of steel. My welds didn't look that great. They all penetrated and are going to do a good job, but they didn't look that great. So I went through and sanded the top of them off. More sanding and grinding. Yeah, so to use Chassis Saver, this is what it looks like. A little close-up view here. Chassis Saver. If you haven't used it before, it's a really good base coat, and then you come back with, let's see if I have any here. Here we go, VHT chassis and roll bar black, gloss black, and you paint that over the top. Once again, got this from Rusty Wrenches, and you get a really beautiful shine, and it's like having a powder coat on your vehicle or any metal that you put it on. So let's look at everything here. So I went through, I know everybody's got their own way. I blue tape everything, so I don't like to have to redo things. I don't like getting paint in areas that I don't want to have to go back and take it off. So I went through and put some blue tape on here. I just use this particular thing. Put some blue tape on, and then you scuff it going in one or both directions. Apply some pressure, and that'll cut the tape around whatever object or whatever you don't want the tape to be on. Then you just peel it off. So I'm going to go through and I'll sand everything down. I'm going to coat the top. I'll take the pocket kit out. I'll drop these down. I'm not going to paint this side. That's why this tape's here. It really doesn't need to be here. I'm going to actually tape it. I need to weld on this one. I'm not quite sure on this side what I'm going to do or where the welds are going to be. So I'll drop this down. I'll paint the bottom of it under here, and I'll paint the opposite side of each of them. So this is the passenger, the driver's on the other side. Sand everything down. I believe I'm using, got 150 grit that I was using on it here. You guys can see. So I just get some 150 and you grind it. You sand it down really good. And after you got it sanded down, then you can apply the chassis saver. Chassis saver has to be on something that's not glossy. So you want to get all of this and put this finish on the metal so it doesn't rust. So you want to get all this stuff off here. After this, then I use the Eastwood pre-paint prep, which is just, I'm sure, an alcohol base. So there's one that I just sanded down. Here's one that hasn't been sanded. And I'll go through and I'll sand everything down real good. And then I'll apply the chassis saver. This transmission, I guess rear drive shaft support that goes across, I only tack welded the ends of it in. I'll probably cut the tack welds and reapply it once I get the engine and the drive shaft in, just to kind of see and make sure everything's in the right place. Then I'll put it in and I'll actually run a bead down each side and make sure that that's stout. And I'll probably put one on the inside in here. But this is going to provide amazing amount of support in the back. The way the gussets and the way this is designed, it's designed for lightweight and also allow your exhaust tubes to come through right here. So yeah, that's where we are right now. Just getting this. I ended up welding in. The pocket kits are down below here. And if you guys remember my previous videos, I had to cut a little slit at the top of this two-piece frame because it's two-piece, so that the pocket kit would sit flush. And I just went back in and welded those slits and grinded it down on both sides. This side, the slit was on the other side of the two-piece frame, so I just welded it all back together and it's good to go. All right, about the only thing I have left, I've done it once already, but when I was resizing the pocket right here, I got in, which I shouldn't have, and I used a pipe wrench to try to pull it out. When I did that, I pushed the inside in a little bit. Now I've gone in with my own little, I made a little expander tool, and I pushed out some. I have to make sure that it's pushed out all the way. That's the only thing I have left, I think, as far as working on the frame. But I have checked it. The mono leaf spring moves freely up and down. Might be a little bit of rubbing. If there's any rubbing, I'll go in and clean that out. Also, I think I've got a couple little goobers in here from when I welded. So I'll go and clean those out, and then we'll flip the frame and paint the inside of the pocket kit. I'm also going to paint the inside of the of the C-notch, of this little C-notch kit, so that as the tire's rotating and pushes dirt up, that the dirt doesn't get in or moisture or anything in there to rust any part of it out. The frame will be painted as well. So that's it, guys. That's what I'm working on. Oh, one other thing that I'll be working on the next day or two. My wife and I have some plans, vacation plans. But this right here. So this is the 12 volt that I have for Grandpa D. His 12 volt will be coming out, and we might be putting it in my dad's 55. That's the 55's original rear end. I'll be tacking the perches on that just for the time being, to move things around. But back to this guy. This one has the perches for the trailing arms. This was an original trailing arm vehicle. I got the frame and all the suspension from that vehicle, from the other long bed C10. And I need to clean it off. It is disgustingly dirty. So I've got to go through, clean it off. I've got a disc brake kit that's going to go on the back. So yeah, I've got to take it apart, clean it all up, get it ready to be mounted, put everything under Grandpa D. I'm really excited. That time will be coming, that I'll be getting him done. I've got the wood panel for the bottom, and then I got some of the Eastwood 2K clear coat that I'll paint over once I get the wood sticker back on there. I've got to take that old clear coat off. You can see it's flaking off there. So I'll get that taken off and then repainted, but that'll probably be in the fall when I get a chance to get there. Right now I want to turn this guy into a roller, and yeah, I'm just really, really excited to turn this into a roller and get the body back on. One other thing I've been doing, by the way, the guys at Hyatt's are a class act. I've been dealing with their tech department to get everything figured out, and they are really cool guys. So this is the Hyatt spindle that you get from Ride Tech when you order the street grip or the coilover suspension that I have for Rusty. And I've been looking everywhere for bearings. I'm not putting on Rusty, my 56 here, I'm going to put the Willwood brakes on. But for my dad's, the gentleman that had purchased Sonny, who had originally owned the 55, my dad's 55, he had purchased these CPP, oops, here we go, these CPP calipers and rotors and hubs that go on the stock spindle. There's the stock spindle. Well, those are brand new, and I didn't want to not use them, but I wanted to use the drop spindles. So I was trying to figure out how to do it, and Hyatt's does sell the bracket that allows you to use this. It's like, I guess it's one of their oversized calipers from CPP, but it works. It goes on there, mounts directly to their bracket, and their bracket mounts onto their hub, which is really cool, or onto their spindle. But finding a hub and rotor and bearings that match have been quite difficult. So talking to the guys at Hyatt's, we're trying to figure out. I've gone to O'Reilly's multiple times to get bearings that are supposed to fit, and they don't, unless you're supposed to press them on, and I didn't think that you'd have to press them on. So like I said, the guys at Hyatt's are helping me out with this, and we'll see. We'll get it figured out, and then I'm going to put in DRP bearing space. I believe it's DRP bearing spacers in. If you haven't checked them out, go on YouTube and check them out. It radically changes. A lot of the racers use them. The friction, when you tighten up the castle nut on your spindle, or at least the shaft, your axle, and you can spin the rotor and the bearings spin freely, even though they're locked, tightened down. They're really cool. So I'll do a video once I get those and get everything dialed in, hopefully, if everything goes well. All right, guys, so this is what Chassis Saver looks like. These are two brackets that'll go on Grandpa D when I do the trailing arm conversion. But I coated these probably 2 years ago with Chassis Saver, and then shot them with VHT chassis black. There's runs in them, but these are just going to go underneath, so it didn't really bother me. But it goes on, you want to get at least 2 to 3 coats on, and once you get it on, it's crazy. It's like almost a rubbery plastic covering. It reminds me a lot of the powder coat that's already on Smokey's chassis. So I don't know if you guys can actually see that in the video, but yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, it's It's like a plastic type film that goes over the top of it and seals everything in. So I know you can put it over rust. I try to get everything as clean as I can before I put it on. But yeah, that's kind of what the finished product will look like when I'm done. Okay, so I wiped everything down with the Eastwood pre-paint prep. There we go. All right, and now, yeah, what am I going to do? I'm going to put a thin layer of the chassis saver on the bottom of the C-notches, and then I'm also going to paint this back half of the frame, or back quarter of the frame. One of the things with the chassis saver is go on light, and then you're gonna have to give it a second coat, and then you're not supposed to return anything from the bowl or container that you put it into back into the original container. So you need to leave it outside of the original container. So I'm gonna load up my brush here with a little bit. It's pretty thick stuff, but it flows pretty well. So once you get it on there, just run it inside here. See how it's going on. It's like an oil-based paint. If you've ever painted with oil-based, you don't want to go back and brush it again. You will end up with more brush strokes. So put it on one, wipe it through, and then leave it once you get that done. Then you can come back later and go over it again once it's dry, but I wouldn't continue to fuss with it. Just put it on one time, then run a light brush stroke across the top. Once you get done with that, then just let it sit. The more you mess with it, the worse it's going to get. Like I said, if you've ever painted with oil-based, if you remember what oil-based paints were like, then that's it pretty much. So just get some on and then sit back and come back to it later once it's dried, and then you can put more, get rid of the strokes if you want to at that point. So one last, there we go, and I will let that sit. There we go. So those two are pretty done. Like I said, I'll come back on this edge right here and I'll go over it again. I want to make sure that I've got a good coat down on that edge. That's where the wheel is coming up, and if I have any moisture, that's where it's going to sit, is right in that spot. So just put a couple dabs on areas of the frame that were exposed. Okay, so move these guys out of the way. This stuff is nasty, so make sure that you're wearing clothes that you can get drips on. And yeah, it's just like oil-based paint. So all right, here we go. So I'm gonna get some on here, couple mils thick, and then once I get it on, I'm gonna run one brush stroke so I get it into everywhere. You have to move quick, just like I said, oil-based paints, and then boom, you're done. Let it sit. I'm gonna come back to these guys right up here, do these little hangers. And since I put the tape on there, I don't have to worry about getting any of this chassis saver where I don't want it. You gotta move quick. Gotta move quick with this. Alrighty, here we go. Because it starts to get tacky real quick. And then right there, run it, last brush strokes over there. brush stroke over there. But one more time, make sure I get it into all the spots where the weld was. All right, and here we go. Boom, boom. All right, that part is done. Come back up here. And once it's dry, I'll come back and get underneath. Yeah, I can tell that I'm not getting directly under here. I'll have to come back and with a little brush and get back in there. Okay, so here we go with a good coat. Sure to get in anywhere that I don't want to protect from rust. Complete one area, give it one last brush stroke, and then let it sit. And move quick. Dig into any of those spots that you want it to cover, and then boom, it's done. Come around to the other side here. All right, here we go. Let's start at the back here and we'll work our way forward. Get into all these weld spots here. I don't want rust to get into anything, so get in there real good. There we go. And let that sit. I did touch that a little bit on the top. I didn't want to do that, but it'll be all right. Okay. Go right there. There we go. Over that, and one last brush stroke, beginning to the end. There we go. And I will let it sit. So that part's done. I'll come back over to the other side. Goes pretty quick, and then you come back and give it more coats. But you'll see when it's done, it'll look just like the rest of the frame was powder coated. It'll look really nice, especially when we use that VHT chassis and roll bar black. Or chassis, what is it? Roll bar and chassis. Okay, here we go. Let me pour a little bit more of this stuff here. Some down here, you guys can't probably see that, but got some in that I had in a little Kirkland bottle here. Pour a little bit of this in here. There we go. Try to keep it off the threads. Yeah, I had it in another bottle. This is from when I worked on Grandpa D's frame parts, and I couldn't open the bottle. It sealed it tight. And then anywhere air can get into it, it forms like a rubbery hard layer. So I had to crack it all and then get it into this bottle, but it worked out okay. There was a lot left over under that crusty layer, and this time I'm using a plastic bag over the top of it to seal it. All right, here we go. Let's go on to this next part here. I'll come around this way so you guys can see this here. Try not to get in the way of the camera. Mix all of this up, make sure it's mixed up good. Okay, that's a little more than I want on there. All right. Here we go. We'll start on the side this time and then work our way up. So, run along here. Into everything. Make sure your brush is loaded up. Not too shabby. Here we go. I've been excited for this stage. Oh man. going through all the welding and everything else, man. I was really looking forward to the time when I'd be painting this on. All right, last. There we go. And then I let it sit. Okay, we'll go over the other side here. There we go. Down into those little weld crevices. Yeah, so finally to this stage. Oh man, I'm so excited to start putting this car back together, at least the chassis, and then start working on the body. Got to do the mini tubs and all of that other good stuff. So I was kind of chomping at the bit. I didn't want to shortchange myself. You know, you want to get everything done right. So it takes a little while to do things right, but oh man, sure looking forward. I was really looking forward to this. So I'm excited. I'm excited. We're moving forward. All right, that's the last brush stroke on that guy. Here we go. Getting the top of this guy here. Down into all the little weld marks here. Careful for runs. I heard a drop down there. Yep, there it is. Do not want to kneel in that. My pants will never be the same. Even though they're my work pants, but still. Last thing you want is this stuff on them. All right. Okay, so last brush stroke over that. Around there. That. Around this side. No. This guy didn't get the weld very good over on here. There we go. Got that guy. All right. Some dribbles going on, but not too shabby. Look for any drips. There's a little drippage right there. Okay, we're coming together. It's happening. All right, I'm gonna come back now really quick and get rid of these things on the ground here so I don't get them all over my back and everything else. There we go. Little shop towel action. So yeah, it was fun going down to my dad's and working on Casper, my brother's sister-in-law's Mustang, and it's coming together. That Edelbrock ProFlow is a pretty cool system. Pretty cool system. So I'm excited to see it hooked up. And with this, my dad also wants to do the ProFlow on the small block. So we're going to put the small block, either the 350 in Grandpa D, or I've got a 327 that I really don't know a lot of the history on it. It was my neighbor's, super kind. She gave it to me. Her husband passed away and he was a hot rodder, and it was sitting in her backyard covered with some stuff, and I got it, and I believe, honestly I don't know, I think that it's one of the 327s you can get higher horsepower out of. I don't believe it's a Corvette 327. It did have double hump heads on it, camel hump heads on it, and I ended up giving them away because we're going to go with aluminum heads anyway, so why keep the cast iron heads that are extremely heavy? So got rid of those. One of the cylinders is frozen, like rusted frozen, so I've got to get in and try to get that taken care of, and then we'll have it magnaflux and see if it's actually worth anything. When I ran the numbers on it, thought it was either an Impala, Corvette, or Camaro. So one of those, you know, it's GM. I went to Nasty Z28, which is a website that you can check codes, and I couldn't find the codes, and I believe it's been decked because the numbers that should be on the front of the engine were completely gone. So I don't know the history on that. So we'll see. Maybe a 327 with fuel injection will end up in here, or a 350. We'll just have to see what my dad wants, and we'll go from there. All right, so just letting this sit. I'm going to clean out my brush real quick, and then hopefully come back and give this another coat. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go back to sanding the rest of the frame, getting it ready to be coated. All right, thanks guys for checking it out, and we'll see you in just the next slide. All right, so this is the first coat to the rear quarter of the frame. So you can kind of see I actually gave this one a second coat right off of here. So let's go around to the other side here. And like I said, it ends up being a matte finish when you get done. That's why you use the chassis, the VHT chassis and roll bar. But that's what it looks like. It looks very much like the powder coat. It's just, yeah, it creates this like rubber seal, rubbery plastic seal that goes over it. I've got to get in tomorrow with a toothbrush. I'll get up underneath there and give it another coat. And that's what we're looking at, guys. Moving forward, I did get, you can see the frame stiffening kit I got right there, that bar right there. I'm not going to mess with the bar in the center right here because I'm going to be re-welding that. So yeah, so that's what we're looking like. Looks, you can't even tell where I welded. It just becomes a part of the powder coat once everything's said and done. So I'll let this sit overnight, and then I'll come back in tomorrow and keep coating and hopefully have this done in the next couple of days. I'll have everything coated twice and the frame will be done, and I can start putting everything back together, get those guys taken care of, the drop spindles, and get the correct bearings and races for those, and the right rotor and hub, and we'll be good to go and start putting this guy all back together. So thanks, guys, for checking it out. We'll see you on the next video. Remember, guys, check out 55210, Half Rods, Montana Garage, Rusty Wrenches, Kyle Phillips, all the good YouTube channels. Check them out. Have fun. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for seeing it. See you on the next video.